All right, I want you to picture a situation quickly. Imagine your best friend has been talking about this interview at their dream job, multi-stage interview, the whole thing. They've been talking about it for weeks on end, and they finally just got news that they did not get the job. Now, I want you to think about all the things you would say to them in hopes of cheering them up. You would probably say something along the lines of how they did everything they could, how they should only be focused on the things they can control, like what their resume looked like, how their interview was, but to not worry about the things that were out of control, such as obviously the rejection to the job. But I just really want you to focus for a second, really think all the things you would say to your best friend to try to cheer them up in a time where they need some support. And give it a few minutes and think of all the things you could possibly think of that you would say to them. Once you've done that, I want you to think now you were the one to lose the job. You were the one who got rejected and wasn't given a job offer. I bet you the things you would say to yourself sound a whole lot different from what you would say to your best friend. Instead of giving them support, helping build them up for the next opportunity, I have a hunch that things you would say to yourself would be a lot more negative. You'd be wondering why you didn't do better in the interview, why your resume was so bad compared to the competition. You'd probably be thinking how much of a failure you are. And in general, you'd be thinking a lot of negative thoughts to tear yourself down instead of thoughts that would uplift you and build you up for the next opportunity. You wouldn't be trying to make yourself feel better. You'd be actively making yourself feel worse with the things you'd be saying. So, why do you treat your best friend different than you would treat yourself? Because ultimately, the best friend you should have in life is the relationship with yourself. And really just think about that. I've said this in a previous video that the only guarantee in life in terms of companionship, somebody you're going to have for your life, it'll always only just be you. I shouldn't say only, but you guys get what I mean. There is one constant in life, and that'll be your relationship with yourself. You're always going to have you as long as you're alive. Family members aren't a guarantee. They might pass away. Same with your best friends. You might get out of touch with them. So why wouldn't your relationship with yourself be even better than that of one with your best friend? And I think this is a super important topic that you really got to give some time to, because I bet you don't even have a good answer as to why you would say those negative things about yourself. You know, what is the difference between the best friend and you in this example? I'm sure you care a lot about your best friend, or else they wouldn't be your friend in the first place. But shouldn't you also care a lot about you and yourself, how your mind feels, how you feel? So why would you tear yourself down when the one thing you would need in this situation is support, kind words to get you back into a good mood, some fun activities to take your mind off things? But instead you choose, or would likely choose, to say destructive things, to do things that don't keep your mind off it. Like you would sit in your room and just contemplate what went wrong and not even think about solutions to the issues. You would just dwell on what went wrong. It's very fascinating that we value those close to us almost more than we do ourselves. And you see it a lot these days, especially in the example I just stated. I can think of times where I've consoled my friends when things haven't gone right, whether it be for schooling for job opportunities. But I can think of plenty of scenarios where I've been through that same situation, and I wasn't giving myself any support. In fact, the thoughts that were going through my head and the things I was thinking to myself were certainly only making me feel worse about myself, and as if I was a bully to myself, not a good friend. And I wanted to make this video to remind you to treat yourself as you would a best friend, because at the end of the day, it really is only you. And thinking positive, kind thoughts, you hear it all the time, and I know people are sick of it, like think positive and all that stuff, but it obviously is said for a good reason, because everybody does the complete opposite when it comes to themselves. You know, it's so rare to see a person who's genuinely always got their own back. They're always uplifting themselves. They aren't getting on themselves when they make a mistake or when things go wrong. You know, like just the other day at work, I was being trained on something new, something different than I've ever done before. I've been on it for 2 days, you know, less than 2 full shifts. And obviously I was making mistakes. And I would kept thinking to myself, I'm like, why can I not do this as good as the person who's teaching me can do it? Why am I so bad at this? You know, it's just all this negative talk, when really it should have been filled with things like, hey Matt, you're still learning this. Give yourself some time. You know, nobody was ever good at anything right away. And, you know, that's another example for it. If you were teaching somebody something new, I bet you would tell them, hey, like, it's okay to not be good at this right away. You know, it's normal to make mistakes when you're first learning something new. But I guarantee you, if you were the person learning in this situation, you would be thinking the complete opposite, just like I was. I would be thinking about, why do I suck at this? Why can't I get the hang of it? You know, like, why is this so hard for me? What's wrong with me that I can't learn how to do this effectively? And, you know, it's something worth thinking about, because even I don't have a good answer for why we tend to do this to ourselves,